In the world of modern MotoGP, the internal combustion classes are set up in a fairly hierarchical structure, with the smaller classes of Moto3 and Moto2 being proving grounds where riders can showcase their skills in hopes of being picked up for a MotoGP ride. However, it didn't always used to be this way. Some of the most successful Grand Prix races of all time made entire careers in the smaller classes. Granted, there have been some riders who have done this relatively recently, but it's much less common nowadays. This begs the question, how successful are the smaller classes at setting up riders for success in the Premier class? The transition from Moto3's chaotic pack races to Moto2's more individual and MotoGP style racing can often be a difficult task for some riders. Let's take a look at every Moto3 champion and see how their careers progressed after they moved on from the lightweight class. The Moto3 class was created in 2012. Replacing the 125cc class that had been present since the Grand Prix World Championship's first season in 1949. It was created to help combat rising costs associated with 125cc racing, as well as address the performance gap between the 125s and the Moto2 bikes. In the very first season in 2012, German rider Sandro Cortese would take the title. Cortese had been steadily improving for a few years in the 125s before winning the inaugural Moto3 title. He was given a ride for the following year with Dynavolt Intact GP, and he would struggle, scoring points in most but not all races, with his best result being a P10. He would compete until 2017 in Moto2 and was inconsistent to be generous, securing 3 podiums but also failing to score points in multiple rounds each season. A very cool thing about Cortese's career is that from his debut in 2005 all the way up until the French Grand Prix in 2016, he never missed a single race. That's 196 consecutive races where he started each and every one. That's great stuff. After this, he would never miss another race for the rest of his Grand Prix career. Unfortunately for Cortese, that wouldn't be that much longer. He couldn't secure a Moto2 ride for 2018, so he signed with Kallio Motorsport in World Supersport. He would go on to win that championship in his rookie year, and would get a World Superbike ride for 2019. He was a regular top 10 finisher and was offered a ride on Kawasaki for 2020. It seems like he could have a genuinely successful career in World Superbike. Unfortunately, at the Portuguese round of the 2020 season, he would suffer an ultimately career-ending injury, and 8 months later, he would announce his retirement from motorcycle racing. The 2013's Moto3 champion is still on the MotoGP grid today. It's Maverick Viñales. Viñales had actually been the favorite to win the 2012 world title over Cortese, but some drama between him and his team led to him just straight up flying home from the Malaysian round before competing. He would sign with Team Calvo for 2013, racing alongside future World Supersport 300 and World WCR champion Ana Carrasco. Viñales would win the title in the last round and move up to Moto2 the following year. He would have a stellar Moto2 season, winning just his second race in the class and going on to win 3 more times and finish 3rd in the World Championship. He would be given a ride for Suzuki in MotoGP the following year. Expectations for Viñales in MotoGP were very high considering his phenomenal run through the smaller classes. He would spend his first year adjusting to the Premier class, but would secure podiums and an eventual win in 2016 before moving to Yamaha the following season. Viñales would have his best years with Yamaha, finishing top 6 in the World Championship all 4 seasons with the brand and securing 8 more Grand Prix wins along the way. However, after he purposely over-revved his bike and caused damage to his engine during the 2021 season, he was let go mid-year and then was picked up by Aprilia, with whom he would find less but still some level of success, eventually winning the American Grand Prix in 2024 and becoming just the 5th rider in Premier Class history to win with 3 manufacturers. Viñales is currently riding for Tech 3 KTM. He is also currently in the top 10 all-time in Grand Prix points. It's safe to say Viñales has had a successful career after Moto3. 2014's Moto3 World Champion likely needs no introduction. Álex Márquez is the younger brother of 8-time world champion Marc Márquez and is currently fighting with him for the championship lead in MotoGP. If you've been watching MotoGP this season, you don't need me to tell you that Álex Márquez has had a successful career. But let's run through it anyway. Álex Márquez won the Moto3 World Championship in 2014. In 2015, he would move up to Moto2 and would have some inconsistent seasons over the next couple of years, securing the occasional top 5 in a Grand Prix, but also having a tendency to finish outside the points entirely on some weekends. 2017 was a breakout year for the younger Márquez, becoming a much more consistent finisher and securing 4th in the title fight. The next year looked significantly better at the start, but a lousy stretch in the middle of the season would lead to another championship fourth. 2019 was Alex's year. With a dominant run in the middle of the season, where he secured 8 podiums in 10 races, he would secure the title and move up to MotoGP with a factory Honda seat alongside his brother. Of course, the two brothers wouldn't really get to spend that much time together during their first stint as teammates. Mark would miss the majority of 2020 with injury, and Álex, despite securing 2 P2 finishes in 2020, was sent to LCR Honda for the next year. He did typically score points during these 2 years with LCR Honda, but didn't do a whole lot more than that, with his best result being a single 4th place at the Algarve Grand Prix. That was his only top 5 finish during his LCR stint. Despite this, some had faith in him. He would move to Gresini Ducati for 2023 and did better right away. Now consistently in the top 10 with 2 podiums and a sprint win, he would jump from 17th in the championship in 2022 to 9th in 2023. For 2024, he would reunite with his brother, and would have a similar season to before. Less high points, but much more consistent throughout, leading him to 8th in the World Championship. He would renew his contract with Gresini Ducati, and that's who he's riding for today. I would be remiss not to mention that his season so far is going fantastically. At the time of recording, which is after the 3rd round of this season, he's currently leading the championship and is yet to finish a race outside of 2nd place. That's pretty astounding. (2015's Moto3 champion was British rider Danny Kent, the first British champion since 1977's Barry Sheene. Kent would move up to Moto2 with Kiefer Racing, the same team he had won with in Moto3, and would find poor results, either retiring or finishing outside the points around half the time. In 2017, he would suffer a crash at the 2nd round and would not start the 3rd round of the season at COTA, initially claiming that he had back pain issues before announcing he was severing ties with his team entirely. He would cite poor results in Moto2 with the team as the reason for him walking away. He would bounce around to different places in 2017. Doing rides for Interwetten in Moto2 as well as Red Bull KTM IO in Moto3 with minimal success in both categories. He would find a ride for 2018 with Speed Up Racing, hoping to prove that he was capable of winning in the intermediate class. He would have a terrible season, only finishing in the points 3 times and retiring from most races. Kent was fired with 5 rounds left on the calendar and another full year on his contract due to poor results and allegedly refusing to follow team orders. He has been racing in the British Superbikes ever since, racing for Suzuki, MV Agusta, Honda, and now Yamaha. He has steadily improved each season, finding 12 podiums and 1 win, with his best result being a championship 4th last year. South African rider Brad Binder won the Moto3 championship with KTM in 2016, and would be given a ride by them in Moto2 the following year. His first intermediate season was inconsistent, some poor finishes, but 3 podiums to round off the year, finishing the season in 8th despite missing 3 rounds due to injury. 2018 would be a much better showing, with Binder becoming much more consistent, never finishing below 9th and with only 2 DNFs on the year. He also found 3 wins this season and finished the season in 3rd place. 2019 was a little more inconsistent with a spotty start to the year, but 5 wins and 9 podiums helped him secure 2nd place behind Álex Márquez. He was promoted to MotoGP the following year, and in just his 3rd start would become the first Premier Class rookie to win a race since Marc Márquez in 2013. He would finish 11th on the season. Since then, Binder has been a relatively consistent top 5 championship guy. He's never really emerged as a contender, but on any given weekend, he can absolutely fight at the front end of the pack. Thus far, he's found 2 Grand Prix and 2 sprint wins each, alongside 11 Grand Prix podiums and 8 sprint podiums. Joan Mir secured the Moto3 title in 2017 with Leopard Honda. He was given a ride with Marc VDS in Moto2 for 2018 and would secure 4 podiums on the season. He would end his 2-year contract early after being offered a ride with factory Suzuki in MotoGP. After an iffy start, he would consistently finish top 10 in his rookie year. His sophomore season of 2020 is where he really hit his stride. With Marc Márquez out for the year, Mir took advantage. He would secure podiums in 7 of the 14 rounds and would only finish outside the top 10 once. He would also find his one and only MotoGP win to date at the European Grand Prix that year. Mir would become the first Moto3 champion to go on to win a MotoGP title, once he secured the 2020 MotoGP World Riders' Champion title. Admittedly, this is considered to be a weaker championship among those in the modern era. 2020 had a weaker lineup of riders than those of the mid-2010s or today, but Mir still won a world championship. He outperformed 20 other riders who had managed to reach the pinnacle of motorsport. After his title, he would stay with Suzuki until they left the sport at the end of 2022. And after switching to Honda, his fortunes haven't been great. I don't need to harp on about how bad the Honda has been over the past few years. It's been said about 1,000,000 times, including by me. But what I will say is that Mir definitely has the talent, and I'd be curious to see what he could do on a competitive bike. Jorge Martín would be the winner of the 2018 Moto3 World Championship in dominant fashion, securing 7 Grand Prix wins and winning by over 40 points over Fabio Di Gianantonio. Martín was given a ride with Red Bull KTM IO for Moto2 and would, like many others on this list, have a tough time adjusting. He would only crack the top 10 5 times in his rookie Moto2 campaign, although 2 of those were podiums. His second season would be much better. 6 podiums, 2 of which were wins, led him to 5th in the World Championship, and a MotoGP ride with Pramac Ducati for 2021. He managed to secure a podium in just his second MotoGP race, but sadly, a practice crash at Portimao would take him out for 4 rounds. After his return, he would find 3 more podiums that year, one of them being a win at the Styrian Grand Prix. Martín would finish 9th in the title standings and would repeat that the following year. In 2023, the sprint format was introduced, and this is something that Martín absolutely excels at. While there may have been better all-around riders, in a sprint, no one was faster than Jorge Martín, and this led him to a close second in the 2023 championship behind Pecco Bagnaia. The following year, the two would fight for the championship again, and Martín would secure a podium in either the sprint or the Grand Prix at every single round. He would become the first rider in the MotoGP era to win a world championship on a satellite bike, and is the second Moto3 and MotoGP champion. Lorenzo Dalla Porta is another rider who simply could never make the transition from Moto3 to Moto2. After an incredibly convincing Moto3 championship in 2019 saw him secure 11 podiums, 10 of them being P2 or better, he was signed by Italtrans Racing for 2020 in Moto2. He would stay with them for 3 seasons, but could never consistently score points or even stay on the bike in some cases. He showed some improvement in 2022, but not enough to be kept on the team. He would move to SAG Racing Team for 2023, but left after just 5 rounds, replacing Alex Escrig for 2 more stops later in the season, but focusing on World Supersport instead. He would end up finishing 17th in the World Supersport Championship after only competing at 5 rounds that year. He competed for a few more weekends in the World Championship in 2024, but instead, Dalla Porta has been competing in the Supersport category of the Italian Speed Championship over the past 2 years. Albert Arenas won the turbulent 2020 Moto3 season with 3 wins and 5 podiums. He was signed to Moto2 the following year, and he has been in the Moto2 championship ever since, a consistent point scorer in each season. Thus far, his best result in a Grand Prix was a 3rd place at the 2023 Catalan Grand Prix, and his best championship finish was 12th in 2023. He also competed in the Suzuka 8 Hours Endurance Race in 2024 with the Yoshimura CERT team, finishing in 3rd place. He currently rides for Gresini Racing's Moto2 squad alongside teammate Darren Binder. Pedro Acosta is Moto3's only rookie champion to date, having won the title on his first attempt in 2021 with 6 wins. He was promoted to continue with the Red Bull KTM IO team in Moto2, and his first season went better than most on this list. He would get off to a turbulent start, but that was quashed in round 8 with a victory in the Italian Grand Prix. He would find 4 more podiums, 2 of them wins, and finish the season in 5th despite missing 2 rounds with a broken femur. 2023 was his revenge tour, dominating the Moto2 field with 7 wins and 14 podiums, and winning the title by over 80 points. He was given a ride with Gas Tech 3 for 2024 and would have a very successful rookie year, with 5 Grand Prix podiums and 4 sprint podiums, and nearly being the top rider on a non-Ducati machine. He was given a factory KTM ride for 2025, and considering how successful he was in the smaller classes, spending only 3 years in Moto3 and Moto2 combined, fans are expecting him to do great things in MotoGP as well. From here on out, we're getting into territory where riders haven't really had a chance to fully have a career since their Moto3 World Championship seasons. But we can still discuss how they've been doing and how their careers are progressing since they won the championship. Izan Guevara won the title in 2022 with the Aspar Racing team in very convincing fashion. The team promoted him to their Moto2 squad, and he found very little success. Over his first 2 seasons with the team, he was only sometimes a point scorer, although I would be remiss to not mention his 3rd place finish at the 2024 Malaysian Grand Prix, which was by far the highlight of his Moto2 career thus far. He signed with the Blue Crew Pramac Yamaha effort for 2025 and has managed to secure a top 5 finish already this season. Love him, hate him, or really hate him, Jaume Masià was the 2023 Moto3 World Champion. He had been a full-time rider and fairly consistent podium threat in Moto3 since his full-time debut in 2018, but it took until 2023 to fully win the title. When he finally got it done, 4 wins and 8 podiums made it a convincing championship. He signed with the Pertalina Mandalika gas-up team for 2024 and would find minimal success in Moto2, only finishing in the points 3 times. He was actually scheduled to race again with the team this year in 2025, but due to a change in ownership followed by a fierce legal battle, he would make the decision to step away from Moto2 entirely. He would find one on the production side of the motorcycle racing aisle, and is instead racing a Ducati Panigale V2 in World Supersport this year, with somewhat promising results so far. David Alonso is the current reigning Moto3 champion at the time of recording. His championship season last year was one for the record books. In fact, it practically is the record book. The rider certainly earned his nickname Baby Goat, with an astounding 14 Grands Prix wins, including a streak of 7 in a row to end the season. He was promoted to continue with the CF Moto team in Moto2 for 2025. I've tried to avoid talking about 2025 results too much so far because we're still in the infant stages of the season, and trying to predict the future is, as we've seen, difficult to do. However, thus far he does seem to be another rider struggling with the adjustment to the intermediate class. He would finish 21st in the Thai Grand Prix, 20th in the Argentine Grand Prix, and despite qualifying P6 for America, only managed to turn that into a 14th place finish. However, he did score his first points of the season with that. I wouldn't write him off just yet though. We've seen riders get off to a very shaky start in Moto2 and then go on to do absolutely great things. So how well do these riders do overall? Well, pretty well, but it is a rider to rider thing. But let's look at some overall numbers just to have some fun. Note that for all of these numbers, I'm excluding David Alonso because he hasn't had a full season to compete in Moto2 yet. Of the 12 Moto3 champions up through 2023, all 12 of them graduated to Moto2, which it makes sense. 9 of those 12 saw a Moto2 podium, and 5 of those 12 saw a Moto2 win. The average number of points these riders got in their Moto2 rookie seasons was just 84.5. That's about the equivalent of finishing 11th and 12th in every round. And only a single rider below that average number made it to MotoGP later in their career, that being Álex Márquez, who was in a 3-way tie for the most seasons spent in Moto2 after a Moto3 title, the other riders being Dalla, Porta, and Cortese, although Álex was the only one of these 3 to make it into MotoGP, and was one of only 2 of the 12 riders to be a Moto2 world champion. Of the Moto3 champions, 6 of them have made it to the premier class. All 6 of these riders have also secured MotoGP podiums, 4 of the 6 have secured wins, and 2 of the 6 have become MotoGP world champions. Interestingly, there has never been a Moto3, Moto2, MotoGP champion, with the only current candidates being Álex Márquez and Pedro Acosta, and Álex Márquez certainly has a shot at it this year. If we take a step back and look at all those numbers, they're well above the averages. You don't see 100% of riders to make it Moto2, and you certainly don't see 100% of riders who get to MotoGP score a podium. So clearly, while the Moto3 style of racing is very different than Moto2 or MotoGP, these riders are set up for some degree of success. Whether they are able to adapt to that style of racing is a different story though, and I'm looking forward to see what the recent Moto3 champions can go on to do with the rest of their careers. If you're enjoying the content, please like the video, it helps out especially on a small channel like mine, and if you want to stick around, subscribe for more MotoGP content directly to your subscription feed. A special thank you to my channel members, MVP2112, Venturian CRO, Sean, and Moto Sapien, and B. If you would like to get a shout out at the end of the video and have access to special emotes in the comment section, please become a member. Don't forget to take your vitamins, and have a fantastic day.